welcome to another exciting episode of Pete versus Heidi, guys. I have a guest today. She's a passionate mental health advocate, content creator who focuses on trauma-informed healing and emotional resilience. Please welcome in the one, the only Liz Storey. How you doing, Liz?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Great, Liz. So why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself?
So I kind of wanted to start with like a little bit about my early childhood because that's kind of where a lot of the emotional regulation patterns kind of set in as far as like my nervous system goes, and I do touch a lot on trauma healing. So I grew up in an environment with a lot of like emotional unavailability and volatility. There was a lot of fighting in the household, not even getting into who it was. Basically it was everyone. We just really had no idea what we were doing growing up, and the people that were supposed to be guiding us in that weren't aware of what they were doing either, really. So like it was really hard to like, I think like as like a parent, you're supposed to like, your children are supposed to model their nervous system based off of yours. It's that co-regulation thing. And so when you have like parents that also have really fried nervous systems, then you kind of just grow up with a fried nervous system. So I think that that's where a lot of my issues came from, was just not having anything to really model that off of. So that's kind of like what home life was like early on. And then like to add to all of that, like going to school, there was a lot of bullying early on, because when you like go to school, elementary kids are the worst. They're like the meanest. They think high school is bad, but elementary was worst. I was so bullied. And it was all for being a crybaby. I had depression as early as 7 years old, and I didn't know how to handle that. But go to school and you're trying to make friends to like get out of that situation. But I was not met very warmly at school either. I feel like I really clung to like teachers and stuff. But yeah, that kind of.
But why do you feel like that, though? Like, clinging to teachers more than actual kids? Was it just that need for that parent to be there kind of thing?
I think it was partly that. Probably mostly that, to be honest. I think like it was partly just like need for connection in general. But like looking back, it is something I'm learning about myself, that I do look for that parent figure in a lot of my relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually what I was going to kind of get into, is that was the impact on my nervous system, was that I was constantly seeking that co-regulation because I didn't know how to regulate myself. So like,
I was gonna say, yeah, because you're so young, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're looking for that guidance for. So you being attached to the older people and teachers, like the authority figure, basically in your life at that time, I could see that happening.
yeah, and all I knew was like these teachers aren't treating me the way I'm being treated at home.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was definitely more warmth and like I think validation from them sometimes.
Yeah. No, I get that completely. So what was it like going on though forward? Like, say we get to middle school next, was it a little better, or was it just getting worse?
Middle school was kind of hard. So actually, I didn't even think about talking about that, but there was an incident where my nervous system was so dysregulated. It was probably the first time I can remember going into that fight or flight and my body picking fight. And I don't remember fully what happened. My mom says that I hit her, but I don't remember that. I remember feeling trapped. Just feeling like there was a situation that I didn't have control over, and my body just didn't know what to do other than fight back.
Yeah.
And so that actually led me to like moving in with my father at the time. So like we were there, I was there for less than a year and moved back. So like middle school was also really tumultuous. I was moving around. I had a very like unstable sense of who was supposed to be taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I couldn't even take in information like my locker number. I had to have my friend do my locker for me because I just couldn't even like remember that at the time. I was just going through so much stuff at home.
Yeah, no, I believe it. You can tell though. I mean, especially with that going on, and then you're dealing with the pressures of school and everything else, and all that stuff that's added as you start getting to those higher grades and things like that. I could totally see it though. I was the same way though. I moved around a lot as a kid too. Like I spent middle school, my elementary schools were the normal. My middle school was the same people. Then freshman year of high school, I was somewhere else. And then the next year after that, when I finally got to a stable one where we were for the rest of the time, I didn't know anybody either. That's where I met most of my friends then. I didn't really have many friends early on because what was the point? If I'm going to be moving anyways, there's no point in making friends with these people. And you got to think we grew up in the 90s, so like we didn't have like the internet access like we have now, like all these other
Hmm.
things that people have now. So it was hard to keep track of people. You knew their phone number, you knew their address, and that was pretty much it. And then if they had like AOL Instant Messenger, because that was our hot thing at the time, that's how we talked to everybody. We didn't have Facebook and all these other great things too. So
Yeah, it was all AIM.
our MySpace, remember that one? Damn, I'm just aging myself at
MySpace.
that point. Shit.
I remember making a MySpace that I wasn't allowed to have with the
Right.
fake names and everything. Yeah, middle school though, I will say, is when I first started actually like getting like meaningful friendships. Like people
Yeah.
were bullying me a lot less. Like there was other people that had difficult home lives and stuff. So like you were connecting a little bit more than you were in
Yeah.
elementary school.
Yeah. So how was high school then after that? Did it get better after that, or is it just kind of like, eh?
High school, I feel like in my social life, things just sort of started to get better throughout school, but in home life, not so much. So in high
Yeah.
school, I had got this really cool, the guidance counselor had a student who became basically my counselor. And I saw her basically every day. And it was really cool because that's where I really got the validation that what I was going through at home wasn't really what most people are going through.
Yeah.
It was kind of the first time I really got tools to like get through that too.
Yeah.
So I leaned heavily on music. That was kind of also through my whole childhood. Music was a
Okay.
big thing for me.
I absolutely love music, so we're getting right into a topic I can talk to you
Heck
all day
yeah.
about.
Well, it was really cool because, like, in my adult life, I've learned that, like, singing actually physically, like, psychologically, it really helps with trauma responses.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see that, like, I did actually naturally gravitate towards some kind of positive
Yeah.
things in that time. So that was cool.
So what kind of music do you like while we're on the subject?
I like all kinds of music. It started with country, to be honest,
I
but
hate when people say that. They go like, "I like everything,"
okay,
and it's like, and then
fair.
it's like it gets narrowed down to this little girl. It's like you don't like everything then.
Fair, okay, but then I start talking about the music I like, and it is everything. It
I know,
started
but
with
you know the thing,
country.
you
My
meet those
dad
people that
had
say
lots of
that, and
really
then when you ask them about it, it's like they narrow it down to so much. It's like, well, you just defeat the purpose of saying it. Why not just say this is where you're at? It just kills me because it's like, Jesus, just say that's where you're at. We ain't gonna play the oh, well, I like a little bit. It's like I just asked you what you're listening to. And people just give you this broad statement. I'm like, I'm just curious what you're listening to. Like there's a young guy I work with. He was like, I was listening to Taking Back Sunday this morning. And he was like, what's that? I've heard that song before, and I'm like, God, it feels so damn old. To him, it's probably the oldies now. And God, when I was younger, Metallica and all of that other shit was the oldies. Like Billy Joel,
Yeah,
uh, Elton John, all that stuff. My mom, fucking God, I can fucking remember that. It was horrible, dude. She used to sing some Elton John all the time. Help us all, man. That
I
was a horrible
love
day. Like you were literally couldn't get out of the house fast enough. You knew that was your time to get out. As soon as she starts out Elton John, turned up real loud. I'm like, yep, time for me to get out the house. I gotta go. Deuce. Taking off. So, but no, I get it though. I went through a lot too because my parents divorced when I was like 10, and it was just like it was just weird because it happened so fast, and like I didn't really respond to it too much at first because it really didn't bother me because I was like,
mhm,
is what it is. Everybody else was upset, but I was just kind of like, is what
right.
it is because they'd argue a lot about things, and some of the things was probably just stupid stuff. And then my mom, she left me when I was 10. She took me and dropped me off my dad's doorstep and just left me there. And I was like, oh, awesome. That's great. And he's like an hour away at work and he's telling her, hey, don't do this. And then he racing home. And after that, we just never had a great relationship because she's just like, I just kept thinking about it all the time. It's like, now you want me to come back because now you don't get child support from me is what I was told in the conversation. Obviously, probably shouldn't have been told that part, but that's what got told me. So I was like, okay, well, fuck her then because I don't want to be a part of that then. I'm
Yeah,
not just a paycheck to you. So I get it all. I understand completely. So music was the outlet for me too, because I was just like, that's always been a big part of my life, regardless. I always had headphones on, listening to something at any point in the car. I'm listening to something. Now, when I'm working on stuff here, now I'm listening to stuff like that
yeah.
too. And so it's always been a big thing. And we'll get to another question there that involves that too, though. But anyway, so what were your relationships like in high school, though? I mean, you had all this rough life at home. Like, was dating hard though at that point? It had to be
I didn't
because
date in high school at
okay,
all.
because I'm asking it because think about it, because like you just have an unhealthy home, then you're like, okay, well, I want to take this is what relationships should be like, so then you would get into something like that.
Yeah. So my first like serious relationship was my oldest's father, and I met him when I was still in high school. He was a little bit older than me.
Yeah,
And it just kind of like the best way I could describe it is he just was not Well, he was on the level I was on at the time, but then I started growing, and I just feel like I had kind of outgrown that. And when
Yeah.
I tried to bring him along that with me, like grow with me, let's go like move
Yeah.
out of like this area, find better jobs, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing, he just
Okay.
was not interested. And it felt like I had no autonomy outside of that relationship, and that really scared me. So I ended up leaving that relationship. And unfortunately, after I left, a lot of the patterns that I experienced growing up, my son then experienced a lot worse things with his father. And that
Yeah.
was a really difficult thing for me to go through
Yeah. No, I get that
with
completely.
him as well. Yeah.
Because he, as soon as he's 4, he starts already realizing what's going on. He may not be able to tell you, but he knows exactly what's going on. He's watching what you guys are doing. Everything you're doing, it's on a magnified scale. So you guys arguing, any kind of interactions you have, he's watching, and he's thinking now that this is how you're supposed to interact with people. So, it's hard, and people don't realize that kids at 4 years old they understand way more than we thought. It's just like, oh, they're just kids. Oh no, they know because they're watching you. They're looking to see what you're doing. You may not always see them, but they're watching what you're doing because they're like, okay, now I think this is how I'm supposed to have a relationship because this is how my mom and my dad acted. So now I think this is how I'm supposed to do things. And it's hard though. When you get in those stressful situations and you guys have things that don't work out and it's a toxic relationship, then it gets even pettier because then the kid gets weaponized because then it's like, well, you can't see the, all those things that you shouldn't do, but people still do. And then the whole thing is people
Mhm.
say, stay together for the kids. God forbid, please do not do that. It's not a great idea.
Mm-mm. No, I remember what my parents were like together. I don't want
Yeah.
that for my kids. And I knew that very early with Malachi. He was actually only 9 months when I separated with his dad. But yeah, just the older he got, like he would tell me things that were going on over there, and it was just like
Yeah.
things that I had really just wanted better for him. And so like that
That's
was
good
a
though.
really difficult process. I feel like the people who were in charge of keeping him safe were not doing so. And then the people that were above that were supposed to intervene were not intervening. And so it took a long time to get him out of that situation. He's in a lot better of a place now. But unfortunately, like some of those patterns were things that like in his life, I've gone through homelessness, I've gone through substance use, I've gone
Yeah.
through custody battles, losing, like, so he's not really seen the best versions of me yet. And
Yeah.
like, I think it's really cool that he gets to see that, but I think it's also recognizing that, like, sometimes in order to break these cycles, you're a part of them, like, you're breaking them from the inside out.
Yeah.
And so, like, recognizing that as much as I didn't want to be a part of this cycle, like, I am. And now I've brought, children into that. And there's a weight to that.
Yeah, but what you're doing now with your TikTok account, it's going to be there for a while now. Like once you put that on the internet, people are going to see that. They're going to see this interview, and they're going to see you saying all these things and realize, that mom was trying to do the best for me that she could at the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're doing great though. I mean, you've got a plan. You're doing what you need to do. Sounds like
Hmm.
you're very educated. Where did you get all this knowledge from? Is this just stuff you've been researching and things like that too? Because you seem
Experience, research. A lot of what I share on my TikTok page is, and I say this after every video, is we're going to get through this together. And it's because I'm going through this currently.
yeah,
I'm dealing with fight responses currently. I'm dealing with, I just had a baby recently, and I always say that postpartum basically puts your mental health on steroids. So everything you're
hmm,
already going through is super heightened. And so I'm navigating a lot of that right now. And instead of like suppressing it like I have in the past or numbing it like I have in the
hmm.
past or just straight up ignoring it, I am facing it head on and just trying to learn what like the needs are behind it and what my mind and body are actually trying to tell me about what's going on.
Right, and you're setting an example for the kids because they're seeing your mom's doing what she's got to do to take care of herself, so it's even better because, like I said, they start noticing these things, and then they'll start doing like they'll start doing the same thing that you're doing. So like they'll see you trying to get stuff figured out and stuff like that, which is cool though because now you're on TikTok, you have everything out there, people are seeing it. They're gonna see these videos eventually and be like, hey, this is why my mom was doing. She was pushing so hard and advocating for these things for me as well, which is great because hey, we don't talk about this stuff enough. I don't care what people say. I've got a guest list here till March, literally till March. And when I say that, I say Mondays and Tuesdays. Like there's five people some days, 3 day people the other day. So that's 8 people at least every week, all the way up to March that are lining up to talk about this. If that doesn't scream that we need to talk about this more, then I don't know what else
Absolutely.
to say. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy, but it's so cool though that you just put it all out there because I like the way those videos went because that's what attracted me to invite you because I was like watching. I was like, damn, this is pretty good. The way she lays it out, and everything is working. it caught my attention, and I was like, damn, this is really cool. So then I share it out to everybody I know. And so then everybody I share it out to shares it out then, and it's cool though, because
Yeah.
TikTok, I found a lot of people are really big into mental health advocates, and you find a lot of these people that show up, and I always try and invite them because, even with being a content creator, I'm a podcast host, so I'm putting my life out there already. People know
Hmm.
everything about me. There's interviews I can tell you where I've had a complete meltdown in the interview, where I'm
Hmm.
talking about my own shit going on at the time. Like, and recently I had there's a couple really serious ones out there that I'm telling you right now that I just get bad, but it's just what it is. But my life's on a microscope. So let me ask you this though, because you're putting your life out there. What is the response you're getting? Are people getting good response, bad response? I mean, because you're
Yeah.
always going to see some negative comments regardless of the way you look at it.
I think I'm mostly getting positivity. I'm getting a lot of people that are being positively vulnerable
Yeah,
with me. And that is both a blessing and a curse. I'm not a professional, and that's what I just try to remind
exactly.
everyone. I say
Neither
I'm
am
a
I.
professional therapy patient. I'm not a
I
therapist,
love
I'm
that
not a
though.
psychiatrist. Yeah. I've been in the game for over 10 years, so like it's a big part of my life, and I just want to share my experience. And
Yeah,
that I think that was the only negative comment I ever got was you shouldn't be giving advice. And that's not even negative, that's kind of neutral, but I just responded to that by saying like I'm not giving advice. I'm sharing what's working for me. And if that works for you, please
exactly,
take from that, and if it doesn't, please stay respectful. Like this
exactly.
space is for everybody.
No, I agree 100% with you. I think it's funny because I'm not trained to anything at all. And there's people asking me questions on things. I'm like, I could just tell you what I experienced, and from the people I invite on this show, I have a contact list of like 400 people at least that I know that I could ask these questions to. So I have that advantage when I have things I don't understand. Like I'll literally go and ask them about it and see, kind of
Hmm.
research it too. If I've had like a world-renowned BPT expert come on too. It was one of my top five
Oh,
dream
that's
guests, and
cool.
when she came on, we and her were talking about it, and it's great though, because like you're getting into a conversation, but you're using your own experience. So that's what people draws you to, is like the authenticity of what you're telling them. Because this is your story. You're not out there feeding them crap. You're like, this is what I'm dealing with. Hello, welcome to what life in Liz is like, and it's
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting to watch, because it's like some people are afraid to even just hit click record and go live half the time. It's like, but you're putting these videos out about your own personal life, and now your life's out there on a magnified scale for people. So but you're getting a positive responses, which is great though, because
Yeah.
I've had people tell me they get terrible responses. There's a girl I'm doing another side project with starting Monday, that we were talking about, that she had said she started telling her story on the internet, and people were just getting nasty, like, go to the mental hospital, this and that. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, joke's on you. I've fucking been there. You know what I mean? It's like, I've been there. I know what it's like. I checked myself in. She's like, and she's on like 17 medications. So like these stories are really interesting when I get them. So like to grab my attention, to me to invite you, means you're doing something really well, because I am known as far as Australia. So people in Australia are going to be listening to this episode, by the way. So
Heck yeah.
it's so cool though.
Well,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
talk a lot about like, or not a lot, but I have touched on the ripple effect, and that's
Yeah.
ultimately why I do what I do, because I fully believe that when you are healing yourself, you're healing the people around you. And like, I really view trauma as like, it's a huge deal. We're all walking around with these wounds that are shaping how we're interacting with people.
Hmm.
And most of us are just going into that blind.
Yeah.
And so, like, if somebody sees my video, maybe they're not comfortable enough to interact. At least they're seeing that and they're getting that kind of validation that, like, you're not alone. And, like, other people are going through what you're going through. You're not a monster just because your body picks fight, those sorts of things.
No, I agree 100% with you there, because that's the reason the show even existed. Was I just started inviting people to come, and then these came in a massive response. Like I didn't think I was going to get 150 responses in the first day I posted about this. I was like, "Fuck, all right, here we go."
Mhm.
Like there's people are just lining up and they're hitting me up, and I'm just like, man, okay. So once I got into it, it was just like I loved it. After the first like few months, I had some very interesting people along the way. I had a woman who is making a film about mental health. I still talk to now. She's trying to get it funded and everything. It's a runner up to award winning script though, but she was like second place kind of thing. But it was a really interesting concept. I've had a lot of musicians, since you like music. I had Lucy Lenore from Hunter has been on the show. I've had Pretty Suspects. Bryce came on. Me and him, we still talk to this day. Alex from Alive and Stone has been on the show. Lives Lost has been on the show as well. So all these different people though, and Lives Lost was an interesting one because they're a mental health kind of band. They'd like to talk about all his songs that Tanis writes are all about things he's dealt with, and things like that too, So, and it
Yeah.
was really cool when you get them on, because you can start asking them questions, because like I could tell with Tanis, his better half was like, well, fuck, not another podcast. He's like, no, this ain't the same thing though. This is something totally different. So I was like, what happened with the last one, man? He's like, they're just a terrible host and things like that. I'm like, what the fuck, man, really? So these conversations get easier from every day. Like I said, as you can tell, I'm doing like 5 or 6 a day sometimes. So like I'm
Hmm.
constantly going into these things, and it's great because when I'm coming back out with this, I'm learning things from people that all these different techniques and things I learn along the way, things I can add in my toolkit box as I go. So
Yeah.
and it's so cool. So how long have you had your TikTok account?
I've had it for probably a little while. I've really only recently been starting to post though. To be honest, it started off as a music account. I was trying to be like vocal repair from like all the smoking and drugs and stuff that killed my voice, but I ended up deciding to talk about mental health by accident. I was really pissed off at somebody in my life that was refusing to see that this was something I was going through, not something I was choosing for myself.
Yeah.
So I went on there and I was like, kind of like passive aggressively, like trauma healing isn't the absence of symptoms, it's the management of them.
No.
And you can still have feelings and symptoms and be perfectly fine as long as you're managing them. And like people really resonated with that. And so I
Right.
was like, okay, what else like might people be wanting to hear or needing to hear?
They hear a lot of things. I think just people aren't just ready to talk about a lot of stuff. But TikTok limits what you can talk about. Like suicide comes up.
Hmm.
Ooh, girl, let me tell you, they all start running for the hills, man. You thought they're Godzilla's crushing Tokyo, bro. They just start going. And it's like it's funny because if you look at the statistics, they're going up, they're not going down. So like this conversation has to have though. And my thing is I hate these fucking videos I see on the internet. After you take your life, there'll be 18 text messages. So I'm like thinking this as they're listing these things, when to my thought, to my brain, it's like, well, you're really not fucking helping at all in this situation.
Yeah.
You're actually pushing them further. So somebody's
Yeah,
gonna
you
see that
can't shame
video.
someone further into not wanting to do something that's already driven by shame, probably.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you're doing the direct opposite of what you're trying to do, and it's like every time I see those videos, I get so fucking pissed. I'm like, I swear to God, one day I'm just gonna post this video. It's gonna say, could you stop please posting these videos? Because coming from a person who's been there twice, you are not helping me. You are telling me that my life doesn't matter. If I take it, it won't care because it'll move on without me. This is not the point of the video. The point of the video is to try and convince me why I shouldn't, not convince me why I should, because you're just gonna push me over the edge. And one of my guests we talked about actually last Monday, he was like, he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, because once you get to that point and you're ready, he's like, nothing else matters to you. You don't even care. No matter, you're not hearing anything else anybody's saying. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm saying about it. And I described the video to him to a T. And he was like, yeah, that's not helping at all. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. An actual psychotherapist is telling you this shit doesn't, not a great idea.
I heard there's always also like it's an argument with that, and it's also an argument with substance use. If your kids aren't enough for you to get better, then you must just not care about them. When
Yeah.
I'm going through that, my brain fully has me convinced that my kids are better off without me, that I'm the worst thing in their lives. Like, yeah, telling me that that's not super helpful.
I've got somebody you can talk to about addiction. I got actually two friends you can talk to if you're interested, though. But
Yeah.
um, I think it's interesting though because that's a lot of times people are medicating to deal with the mental health issues they're dealing with now, and that's where addiction starts for a lot of people. And then some of them are just fucking really addicted, like the opioids and all that other shit. And God, there's a whole tangent you can go on with that whole thing because it's just ridiculous because it's like they keep feeding them these drugs and it's like they don't care about the side effects. Like the side effects are just, man, just
Yeah.
watch those drug commercials. It'll turn your life around. You're like, okay, never mind. It's
Substance
psychotic
use
if it's
was a
your
big
shit.
part of my story too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's dig into that a little bit. So what was your choice?
Uppers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's because when at least up until that point, when
Yeah.
I would like get overwhelmed, overstimulated, stressed, depressed, when I would feel anything that I couldn't cope with, I would sleep. So then they would like put me on these like psych meds to help me, but they would just put me to sleep. And I'm like, I just still feel depressed. And they're like, I wonder why. But yeah, so I would start using uppers. But that actually ended up starting as a result of like, I had talked a little bit about what was going on with my son for a while, and that
Yeah.
not being handled properly really did a number on my brain. So
Yeah.
by the time they were like, oh yeah, something is up, I was too far gone, too messed up from the whole situation to even begin to be what was right for him at the time.
So let me ask you this then: what advice would you have for somebody if they were in that situation? What's like something you could tell them to help them? What would you say would help?
Like in the situation like with my son or like in substance
Yeah,
use.
just in substance use in general, your son, you could do anything you want to talk about. I just kind of want to get your opinion. And since you've been there,
Yeah.
what is your advice to people that may be there, just in any of those situations? What do you think is some good advice for someone?
Everything is temporary and that like that's the good and the bad. You're going to have a bad time right now, but that's just kind of life. We talk a lot in recovery about life on life's terms. So being able to accept that like it's going to have those ups and downs. There's going to be cycles, there's going to be patterns. It's just our job to work through those and manage them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the next thing, of course, is for the loved ones. What advice you have for them? Like, since you've been there, what can they do best to help this individual if they're trying to help them? That way they know what the right thing to do versus the wrong thing to do.
I think understanding that when you're validating another person's emotions, you're not necessarily saying that like it's based in reality or it's right or that you agree with them. You're just validating that like this is what you're experiencing and I'm really
Hmm.
sorry that you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
And that goes an incredibly long way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's true though. I hang out with a lot of the people in the recovery part of TikTok. Well, actually, one of my friends, he runs a podcast called Rock and Recovery. My
Hmm.
buddy Jay started after I talked him into doing a podcast, but he loves it now. So he and I hang out a lot on TikTok. So I go in a lot of these rooms. I'm listening to these guys, and a lot of them, it's like you guys gotta like sit there and like it drives me crazy because Jay's really big into this thing, and I'm just trying to learn more about it. So I'm hanging out with these guys just to see what I could see and hear what I hear. A lot of times you find them, it's like people fuck up and they're like, oh, well, the biggest mistake I think people make from my experience is that when you have a relapse, people make a big fucking deal about it. Like they make it like
Hmm.
bring like the, oh, they start guilt tripping you. It's like, guys, you're doing the direct opposite of what you need to do right now. You need to let them know, okay, you did it. All right, cool. Move on. That's what my buddy Jay would tell you. Just move the fuck on. It's already happened. You can't worry about that. But a lot of people, that's what they do. They sit there and guilt you about it and things like that too. And I think that's the wrong approach to go with because it's like,
It is.
yeah, you
Absolutely.
already know. As Liz could tell you that she's been there. Like if you did, you fucking did it. You don't need somebody to keep reminding you did it. Well, shit, I don't need you to keep telling me I did it. Fuck it. If I'm gonna keep saying it, I might as well just keep going. If you're gonna keep saying it,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
I think it's just ridiculous to me. It's just crazy though. So we're at the part of the interview where this is gonna be the fun questions now, okay? So I ask everybody these two questions, and this is because I met somebody while doing this show, and she runs a podcast called The Shit That Goes on Our Head, okay? So when we interviewed, she said to me and she asked me this question, which is great because I'm a music person anyway. So the question to you is that Liz, if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be? Ooh, look at her. She likes this question already.
No, because I know the answer. It's Unwell by Matchbox 20. And not because I'm always unwell, but because when I am, the people around me don't understand. They don't try to connect usually. So I
Okay.
feel I relate a lot with any of Rob Thomas's lyrics.
That's okay. Let's dig into what you just said there for a second. I kind of find that interesting. You said people don't. What did you say again? Repeat it one more time.
That people don't try to really connect with me on that level when I'm not doing well.
Okay, so how would they do that though? If somebody was on a level, what would you say is the easiest way to connect with you? Give somebody a little like kind of idea what they could do.
Yeah.
Or
I think like kind of like what I had said about that validation is like I'm the
yeah,
type of person that I'm far enough in my journey that I know my feelings aren't facts,
yeah,
but they are there. And so like sitting with me and helping me to, regulate whatever I'm going through instead of telling me that it's wrong
yeah,
is ultimately what I need in that moment. And I'm not always I have found an incredible group of people that do support me in that.
yeah,
Unfortunately, they're all over the country, and so they're not able to always just sit on my couch
yeah. Well,
and just be
internet's a
like a
great
physical
thing.
body in the room. But
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, though. I mean, that's great that you found people like that. You can add me to the list too. Now you have me. I'm definitely down. I'm always trying to learn new things. So, like anything you could teach me to help you better, I'm always asking because there's somebody I'm talking to right now like that. We're just kind of talking, and I find it very fascinating about this person because she has like BPD and things. I'm literally going to the extent I'm asking like that the expert that was here. I'm gonna reach out there. I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna reach out there and ask her questions just so I can better understand. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't go anywhere past talking, I'd rather just be another friend to her. That way I can help because it's like ever since I got abandoned, now this need to make sure people feel accepted. It's like I want to be sure I can help anybody in any situation. So it's great when I meet people with certain conditions because I like to ask a lot of questions like hey, how can I help you? What can I do better for you? Because I think people forget that. They don't ask people that question. I literally was on a
Mhm.
panel. In fact, it was funny because there were four other people with way more credentials than I am, and none of them said even any of that. I came on there and said, how about we ask them what they want? How about that one for an idea? And everybody stopped except for the one woman from California goes, I agree with him. You should be asking questions. I'm like, really? All four of you have more credentials than me, and none of you motherfuckers can think of this thought of it. Like, ask
I
them. They can
think
tell
there's
you.
this like idea that people who struggle with mental health don't know what they need or don't
Bullshit.
know what's best for themselves. Because I struggle with that too a lot. There is a person in my life that I feel like I am kind of constantly asking to just listen to me. Like, stop trying to seek outside information about what people like me are like. Like, just talk
Mm,
to me about what I need because I'm not like bullshitting you. Like, this is what's
yeah.
actually going to help me.
That's what I mean. Like, go to the source directly. Ask the person, like, go, hey, listen, what can I do for you better? And it's just like, I think we forget that. The only reason I'm looking at other things for the person currently is because it's like hers is a little extreme. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I need to know what I'm getting myself into conversation wise, anything I should be looking for, and things like that too. But I did ask her, though, straight out in the beginning, like that. I was like, hey, listen, what can I do? And then she's like, if I'm down, ask the really close friends, which I did, but that was an interesting conversation. I got told by both of them, by the way, that one of them said he was just gonna take me out. I was like, that's a great friend. She's like, yeah, Jay told me he called that, whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. So, but no, I get it though. I think that's what we forget in these situations. We start to panic, and we don't ask you what do you need. Like I said, I go, hey, Liz, what can I do to help you in this moment? And just
Yeah.
listen to what you have to say because I think people are quick to try and give you solutions, and you're like, well, fuck, I don't want your fucking solutions. I want you to listen to what I want.
Hmm.
You know?
I always like to ask the question like, how can I support you best in this moment? Do you need an ear? Do you just want to vent? Do you want advice? Like, what do you specifically need in this moment? And
Right.
some people don't know. Like, sometimes you do have to kind of like offer ideas and stuff. Some people, like, because they've never been asked that question. So they're like, what do I need in this moment?
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Sometimes I did mention that to them. I was like, sometimes you just can't help people. Sometimes it's just being there in the room, your sense, your presence, your energy, all that kind of stuff. However you want to look at it, you're just there. It just helps them, and kind of things like that too. So let me ask you this question though. There's something new I've been asking too. So if you were to go and die tomorrow, okay, how would you want the world to remember you?
I want to be remembered as just a safe space for people to come as they are.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it. So that's really great, Liz. I think that's a great answer. The last question I have for you, and the reason I started this whole podcast, said that if you could break the stigma about mental health, like anything that you hear on a daily basis that really just pisses you off, that you want people to stop believing, what would you say that one thing would be?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think kind of like what we kind of touched on that we don't know what we need for ourselves because we do. Like, I think when you get to a certain point in your healing, you are able to identify what's going to work and what's not going to work. So,
Right.
giving people like that autonomy to be able to make their own like decisions and such about what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, though. I mean, I just think that, we need to have more of these conversations. My personal opinion for that question, and to answer that would be, is that we need to have more conversations like this, just regular conversations. It doesn't have to be this give you a fucking lecture type thing and go. It's people don't want to hear that shit. People want to hear be heard. They want to have a chance to give their own response, to say how they're feeling, and things like that too. So what is your future plans for the TikTok account? Are we going to keep going down that road? Or are you going to do something different? Are we just going to kind of go where how we feel?
I have tons of things that I want to talk about with
Yeah.
everybody. So I'm kind of just right now trying to organize. So I have started touching on parts work. which is the idea that we all have parts of ourselves that
I love
were
it.
created to like protect ourselves or whatever it might be, and that they all have a job and a need and an age or, you know, whatever it might be. But just kind of integrating that back into ourselves. So we're going to probably touch more on parts work. And then eventually I do want to reach out and talk about like postpartum as well and what that can look like with trauma, because that's something that I'm experiencing currently and it definitely needs talked about.
Yeah. Why would you say it's not talked about enough? Do you think it's just people are afraid people aren't going to be able to handle what is causing that trauma?
I think so. What I know about it is that, so I'm in like a maternal mental health IOP, so it's specifically for like people that are going through this. And
Yeah.
like even in that space, which is created specifically for the thing that I'm going through, I still feel like it's not being talked about. So like I feel like that means it definitely needs talked about. Like I said before, it really just sets fire to anything that you already have going on. So when you have this precious little baby in your care and you're like sitting there thinking about all these negative patterns and all these negative relationship dynamics, and you're kind of like watching it from like behind glass, like it's
Hmm.
happening, and you kind of feel like you have no
Hmm.
control over it.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of shame for moms to like kind of be perfect and be the caretaker and all these things, and like you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't take care of that little child if your brain is fried.
Yeah.
And so I just want to start reaching out and being able to help women that are also going through that. I also found out there's a thing called postpartum PTSD. So like I had a really rough pregnancy, so on top of like it setting fire to my already existing PTSD, I now have a new form of PTSD to add to the plethora.
Just add new things on there. New stat
Yeah,
unlocked, everybody. New skill, you know? Yeah, I
why
get you there.
not?
That's funny. That's hilarious. But, I think it's great though. I appreciate you coming and talking to me. I know we hardly knew each other when I even invited you to come do this thing.
Hmm.
It's great though because, like I said, I find interesting stories, and I like to bring you all in here and talk to you about it because this is a safe space. Like anything that you say in this room stays in this room, unless it's something I like reference in another interview. Like, hey, I met this person, Liz. She's doing some great things. Like that kind of stuff. I'll bring up to people. Like I'll talk to everybody about things I like, people are doing. So like, somebody comes on it's trauma based. I'm gonna be like, hey, listen, have you checked out this TikTok account? And I'm gonna drop your TikTok
Nice.
account. I'll have it right here in my notes so people can know, hey, listen, go check out my buddy Liz. This is what she's doing, and things like that too, and highlight what you're doing to other people because, that's just I love it. I love it. Like I said, I love it. I don't waste my time with things anymore. I'm very selective of who I'm bringing into the show. So like I'm constantly skimming that list of people and kicking people off because I'm like, you're not fitting what I'm doing right now. Because I just kind of this
Yeah.
has been a journey for me, because like from the beginning to now, I've discovered a lot of things along the way. Energy sensitive. I'm an empath. And things
Me
like that
too.
too. So I kind of been honing it a little bit. So I could read people's bullshit across the room, and it's funny because I did that to somebody this morning. He came in and I instantly asked him, said, "What did you do?" He goes, "What do you mean? I didn't say anything." I'm like, "Yeah, you didn't have to. I could tell. What did you do?" And instantly the other guy starts laughing. Yeah, tell him what you did, because like, that's how good it's been getting. I've been able to
Yeah.
read a lot of things going on. So it's been an interesting adventure so far. We've had some scary fucking moments in this show. Like we had a guy 15 minutes in talking about how he had the gun in the hand, he's sitting on the edge of the bed, that kind of shit goes on. So you're getting into a topic that you're going to see a lot of crazy shit come up.
Hmm.
Understand that you're not alone though, because I'm here right here with you. Like, I got 100% support behind me. I'd love for you to tag me in anything you're doing. That way we
Absolutely.
can push it out even further for you because I think what you're doing is great. I think the fact you're sharing your own personal life out there is it's a little rough because, but it's great you're getting a good response because some people get those negative comments, and it's just don't let it deter you. You know what I mean? You got me on
Yeah.
your side, you got all these other people on your side. We all love what you're doing. We think it's great. Just keep going, man. With that being said, do you have anything else you want to share to the world? Anything you want to say? Any final parting words before we start signing off?
Just again, that you're not alone if you're going through it. There are people out there that want to help and support each other.
Exactly. That's right. So, Liz, before we sign off, why don't you tell them where that TikTok account is so they can come visit you?
Hold on, I don't even know what my TikTok handle is. I think it's Liz
Okay.
Story 26.
Okay, Liz, I got to tell you something. This is a funny story that relates to forgetting something. So, these girls I know, Giselle, if you're listening, you're gonna fucking hate me after I tell this story. So my good friend Giselle from Looking In Through the Glass, okay, so she came on the show, and I said, "Hey Giselle, why don't you plug that email for me?" Well, I can't. I don't know what my email is. I'm like, "How do you know my email?" How do you not know your email? I'm asking you to plug it on the damn show, and you don't know what your email is. So,
It's at Liz Story.
all right, guys, you know where to go find her at Liz26. Liz, thank you so much again for being here. It was great
Thank you for
having you.
having
Like
me.
I said, guys, if you need anything, reach out to Liz and I. We're both here. We're both willing to listen to you guys, you know. And with that being said, we're going to wrap this episode of Pete First Anxiety, guys. I'm Pete First Anxiety. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to Pandora Radio. I'm on X, all the way down to TikTok. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save someone's life, or hell, you can even make their day. I'm Pete First Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?
So bad we can fuck